What do you want out of this?
What do I want? I want a feature film about me, to see what I look like.
Yeah.
To be like, oh.
Marlon Williams is no stranger to taking risks, but the celebrated musician, loved here and abroad for his rich voice and captivating performances, has ventured into unknown territory with his first full-length album in Te Reo Māori and the creation of the feature film Ngā Ao e Rua, Two Worlds, documenting it.
How do you think you look?
It looks like me. I don't know, it's hard to, you know, I just watch this sort of big idiot running around doing doing what I do, and I don't know, it's, yeah, I guess on some level it's like I've learnt nothing. It's just, you know, it's just like, oh yeah, it's just me running around, but I guess there's something in that too, you know, it's just, I am just this person running around doing this and that, you know, and there's not much mystery to it other than, you know, what happens and what goes on.
Well, I feel like as an audience we learn a lot. We learn a lot about you.
Oh, that's good. Someone's learning.
And it's a big thing, isn't it? I mean, you're either all in or not, right?
Yeah. I think, you know, it took a while to get comfortable with the construct of it, but you know, you absorb it into your world, you know, and you make it part of what you're doing, and then eventually you stop thinking about the camera.
Ngā Ao e Rua shows the harsh realities of constantly touring, but first and foremost, it's about Williams' te reo learning journey.
There's been times before I've gone on stage where I thought, I can't talk, I've got literally nothing. Giving myself to the world has an expiry date.
The film's director, Ursula Grace Williams.
Marlon was really clear that he wasn't at the point in his career that he wanted to necessarily reflect back. I mean, he's still young and he's still on a climbing career. So this wasn't a biopic, it wasn't an archival piece, it wasn't a sit down to be like, you know, tell me, Mike, what do you think of Marlon and his music? You know, there weren't any other talking heads. It was very much through his own point of view and perspective the whole way through, and we only use about 3 minutes of archive in the whole of the film, so everything is present day. So yeah, I guess separating those two things was really important for me, because this, you know, his waiata and his reo is something that has sat in him for a lot longer than this film's process came to be, you know.
Did you see him grow in confidence and I guess in ability over that time?
I did, yeah, both personally and then also through the waiata. That was obviously his key tool, because that's a language that he implicitly knows, it like lives within him. His guitar is almost an extension of himself, you know.
Despite the constant pressures of writing, touring and acting commitments, Marlon Williams' journey with Te Reo Māori has been one of remarkable growth. Highlighted in the film by a beautiful duet with friend and superstar Lord. Ka Hore He Manue, an emotional tribute to the trials of road life and friendships made and lost along the way.
The interesting part was always this and now this, you know, and what does it mean for someone to have spent their life touring the world and doing things this way, and then in some sense reckoning with themselves, you know, back to you know, at the closest and most vulnerable part of themselves, you know, yeah.
And I guess it's hard to differentiate the two at the moment, isn't it? The album and also the documentary film, but the album's out and it's just had incredible reviews. You must be so thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, it's always weird because you've been working on it the whole way. You sort of can't believe that it hasn't been out before, you know. People are, you know, like come and say, oh, I love this song. I'm like, oh yeah, well it's just been around for years, you know. But of course, you know, it's just this constant re-reckoning with your own work and with you know, and it will happen again when we go out and play them live, you know. That's sort of become my favourite part, is you write the song and it lives one life. You record it and it changes again, and then you go and play it live, and then you've got a whole other beast by the end of, you know, the songs that I play now that I recorded on my first album 10 years ago are vastly different, you know, in terms of even the structure of them has changed. So yeah, it's interesting. This is how people reconnect with where they're from. I'm in the process of writing and recording an album in Te Reo Māori. Never done that before.
The album, Te Whare Te Weka Weka, or The Messy House, went to #1 in New Zealand just a week after its release. The only other time a Te Reo Māori album has done that was the compilation Waiata Anthems album back in 2019. Later this month, the accompanying film Ngā Ao E Rua will be shown in movie theatres around Aotearoa, continuing a global trend of telling Indigenous stories on the big screen.
Kia ora, my name is Boy.
The economic and cultural significance of Māori filmmaking, as outlined in a recent Screen Sector review, underscores the importance of projects like Ngā Ao E Rua. Māori-produced content continues to demonstrate immense potential, both locally and internationally, reflected in the success of films such as Boy and Whale Rider. Mary Hakaraidi Young runs the Otaki-based Māoriland Film Festival. It's been going for 12 years, and last month was its biggest yet.
We bring in films from all over the Indigenous world, from Greenland across the Americas through to the Pacific and Asia and Africa. And what we find is, you know, we've all experienced similar things across the world as far as colonisation goes, or loss of language, loss of land, loss of connection to culture, and then the efforts to bring those things back. And so whether our audience is watching a Māori film or a Canadian film, they're seeing the same stories reflected that they really respond to at an intimate level.
Tell me about the audience. Has it changed over the years?
What we've found over time is that people are now travelling to Otaki for the film festival. We are finding that the audience is probably 60% Pākehā, and that's really interesting for us, because one of the questions we've had is it this festival, is it okay if I come? Will I be interested? Yeah, and which I find interesting, because really these are just stories that we want to share with everybody. But then the feedback we get back from that audience are 90-year-olds telling us that they've travelled further in the week of the festival than they have in their entire life, that they're seeing different perspectives in different communities that they've never had access to before.
It's not just about sharing culture, but about significant economic benefits too, from box office ticket sales to job creation. One film currently highlighting this impact is the recent Pacifica-inspired film Tina, which Film Commission CEO Annie Murray says has been rapidly climbing the ranks of New Zealand cinema history.
Tina, of course, we have to acknowledge is a massive hit. It's sitting at #6 New Zealand film of all time. So it's up there with Whale Rider and Once Were Warriors and Boy and Hunt for the Wilder People. So
did you pick that
to
be such a big box office hit?
Look, we knew it would resonate. And the thing is that our Māori and Pacifica audiences always come out for our films, especially films that resonate with our Māori and Pacifica communities. So we knew that Tina would certainly find its audience. What we didn't quite expect was the degree of crossover into a mainstream general audience. And when we look at the results, twice a week we get a list of results and which cinemas are doing what kind of numbers. And we see the Silky Otter cinemas in places that are unexpected, parts of Christchurch and Auckland that you wouldn't expect to be doing big numbers. And it's just really heartening to see how a film like Tina has really hit the sweet spot for an enormous number of people. So, well over 300,000 people have seen it already in 5 weeks.
Wow. Does that sort of engagement locally or in New Zealand also translate into international views?
It does. I mean, it's different for every film. So Hunt for the Wilder People, for example, did very well internationally. Boy, not as big internationally. But what they have is a really long tail. So Hunt for the Wilder People was 2016, I think, and Boy was something like 2008, and they're still going strong. Whale Rider is still going strong, you know, 20 plus years later. So Once Were Warriors is sitting on Netflix and doing huge numbers. These films have a really long life cycle. So, yep, we're delighted about Teen R and its first 5 weeks at the box office, but the box office is just the beginning of the story. The story runs for 20 plus, 30 years even, with sales all around the world.
While producing commercially successful films helps with international investment, growing a skilled workforce with a vibrant domestic pipeline makes New Zealand far more attractive for big-budget overseas productions.
Jared wanted to do this in Idaho, everyone.
When the film Koka was being made in 2023, young Māori crew were given the opportunity to work and learn alongside the professional crew.
Since then, they've all gone on to continue working on other feature films, which is excellent. But at the same time as they were shooting Koka, Ka Whawhai Tonu was in production as well. And so as far as we could contact, everybody Māori working in the industry had a job at that point in time.
And how does that compare to the general film and documentary making sector?
I think it ebbs and flows. What I've been hearing anecdotally is that it's quite slow at the moment, that there isn't as much international production coming out. And I think that is they're still feeling the aftermath of COVID and then the strikes in the US, which really impacted on the production flow through California and Hollywood. The fires were another significant disruption to their ability to produce content. And so for people working in that part of the screen industry, it definitely has, in terms of Aotearoa's screen industry, there definitely has been a slowdown. At the same time, I think what we're seeing in the Māori sector is that everybody is busy.
Initiatives like the Maoriland Indigenous Collab, which currently supports 8 Māori filmmakers in developing new feature films, are vital for sustaining momentum in an overall screen industry that already employs 24,000 people and contributes more than $3.3 billion to New Zealand's economy, with significant potential for further growth through attracting international productions.
We support our filmmakers really strongly out into the international market to raise the finance that they need, to make the connections with distributors and sales agents to put the package together, because the Film Commission can put in a proportion of the budget and then the rebate on top of that if they qualify for the rebate. But then there's always quite a substantial gap to make up the full budget, and that's our job, is to support our creatives to get out there and find that money, put the partnerships together, be there as the New Zealand government, you know, the trusted party that is known to have integrity and be totally reliable, and that counts for a lot in the film world. So we're there as well at the table, supporting our creatives to put that jigsaw puzzle together.
A big piece of that puzzle is the screen production rebate, introduced a decade ago to strengthen New Zealand's appeal to filmmakers.
If we look at the international, it's the rebate that brings in those big productions, like we've got a Minecraft movie out in cinemas at the moment. There's Brad Pitt shooting here for Heart of the Beast. So those very big budget international productions would not be here without the rebate. So how that works is for every $100 that they spend in our economy, they get $20 back. We get $80 that we wouldn't have got otherwise spent in New Zealand. If they don't have the rebate, they would go to Australia, Canada, Europe, UK, anywhere else, because it's a bottom line requirement.
The domestic screen production rebate, offering a 40% rebate on qualifying New Zealand production expenditure, has been instrumental in bringing local stories to the screen. Without this support, many productions would struggle to secure necessary funding to proceed.
If we look at that overall package of rebates versus export income, we've had a net billion plus in the last financial year of export income as a result of the rebate.
Wow.
So that's $1 billion into our economy that would not be here without that rebate. So it's essential for the industry, but it's also about creating jobs. So if you look at a Minecraft movie, I don't know if you've seen it yet, Mike, but there's some real New Zealandness to that film, despite the fact that it's Jason Momoa and Jack Black. There were 90% New Zealand cast and crew, over 1,100 jobs created here in New Zealand on that one film.
The less tangible benefit is the ripple effect through communities, whether it be reinforcing cultural pride and identity or introducing it, like Marlon Williams' decision to write and record an album entirely in Te Reo Māori.